In a dark and terrifying room, Yi-jae cries on his knees as he claims he doesn't deserve this because he didn't do anything wrong. A mysterious woman suddenly shoots Yi-jae and throws him off a plane, but even with a hole in his forehead, Yi-jae opens his eyes. This all started 7 years ago. Yi-jae is on his way to an interview at a very prestigious company when suddenly a man runs through a busy road and gets hit by a car. Yi-jae checks on the guy, but he dies as he clutches onto Yi-jae's arm, leaving him very shaken. Later during the interview, Yi-jae is still going through his trauma and he can't answer anything properly, so he doesn't get the job. Having failed to secure a job, Yi-jae graduates with a big student debt, so he has to start getting menial jobs like delivery guy and waiter. His family can't help him because his father is dead and his mother is a janitor that already sacrificed a lot to give him a good education. Yi-jae never stops sending resumes to various companies, but he repeatedly fails to get a full-time job. After 7 years of working part-time jobs, Yi-jae finally gets an interview at the big company again. Interviewer Tae-yu is impressed by the resume, and Yi-jae leaves the meeting with high hopes. However, he soon gets a call from a friend, who informs him that all the money they invested in another friend's deal is gone because the guy disappeared. Yi-jae rushes to his friend's apartment and starts pounding on the door, but nobody answers. Since those were all his savings, Yi-jae gets furious and starts hitting the door with a fire extinguisher until he falls to his knees as he has a breakdown. Moments later he ends up in the police station for destruction of property, so Yi-jae asks the cops to arrest his friend. However, they can't do anything because investing in a business that failed isn't illegal. In the evening Yi-jae goes to see his girlfriend Jisoo, who comes out of a car with a guy that gives her flowers. Once the man is gone, Yi-jae approaches her, who immediately smells that he's been drinking. She mentions that he hasn't been able to get much work this month and gives him an envelope, but he thinks of it as charity and realizes he's been nothing but a burden. Thinking their relationship won't go anywhere, Yi-jae breaks up with her. Moments later Yi-jae goes to his apartment, only to discover that the landlord has kicked him out and he's keeping the deposit to make up for overdue rent. All of Yi-jae's things have been left outside under the rain, so he has to move as much stuff as possible to protect it. Sadly, there isn't much room and when morning comes, he's lost many of his things. After spending the night sleeping on the ground, Yi-jae gets a message from the company saying he failed his interview. After having another breakdown, Yi-jae decides he's had enough and self-deletes in the middle of the city, ignoring the call from his mother. Darkness takes over for a few seconds and then Yi-jae discovers he's in a private plane. When he looks at his reflection, he freaks out because his face has changed, and at that moment he notices the mysterious lady sitting nearby. She has his goodbye letter in her hands, but she magically burns it before taking off her shades, revealing bright red eyes. Suddenly Yi-jae is transported to the terrifying room with a tall tower in the middle of a red sea and demons trying to climb up. The lady reveals she's Death and she's brought him here to punish him because he made a mockery of her. She grabs him by the neck and throws him off the edge, so the monsters try to grab him as he falls. There are lots of creatures waiting for him in the water, but when he crashes, he wakes up in the plane with the other face again. Death is there too and explains that she'll make Yi-jae die 12 more times as a punishment. His soul will enter the bodies of 12 people facing imminent death, and he'll die regardless of where he ends up. However, if he manages to evade a death, he'll be allowed to keep that life. Yi-jae doesn't care about those deaths because he wants to end it all, but after Death disappears, the plane enters a raging storm. Unconsciously panicking, Yi-jae puts on the life jacket and fastens his seat belt while the flight attendant comes to tell him that it's just some turbulence. After a few minutes of shaking, the plane stabilizes and the attendant lets Yi-jae alone. Still confused, Yi-jae starts looking around and realizes he's in the body of a very rich person. Suddenly a glowing pebble enters his mind, informing him of the details of the person he's possessing. This guy is the CEO of the important company Yi-jae applied to, and he's been rich his whole life. Tae-yu is his older brother and they competed since they were kids over everything, including who would lead the company. All his hard work allowed him to win his father's approval and eventually he was chosen to become the new CEO. Yi-jae is very pleased by this lifestyle and decides he wants to keep it, but at that moment an engine blows up. The plane starts going down at great speed and Yi-jae has to dodge all the sliding furniture before going back to his seat to fasten the seat belt. The pilot tries to control the plane to no avail and the fire spreads, creating a hole in the side of the plane that sucks out the pilot and the flight attendant. Yi-jae can only watch as an explosion makes the whole plane catch on fire and he's soon burned to death. Afterward Yi-jae wakes up in the dark room, which is now a barren area with a creepy glowing door and a desk for Death. On this desk, a clock counts down the lives Yi-jae has left. While Death puts a bunch of bullets in her gun, she explains a few things. The souls from those bodies are already dead, so Yi-jae isn't stealing their lives, he's just giving the bodies a second chance. If he fails to survive in all of them, he'll go to hell, and Death decides to give him a preview. She grabs Yi-jae and takes him behind the door, where he sees indescribable horrors. When Death takes him out, Yi-jae has his breakdown, returning to the beginning. He doesn't understand what he did to deserve hell, so Death says he's guilty of finding her before she could find him. She also reveals that depending on his actions, if he survives in one of the 12 bodies, he may avoid going to hell. Yi-jae decides he'll try to survive after all and Death shoots him to send him into the second life. He finds himself falling from a plane in a new body wearing a sports jumpsuit but without a parachute. As he panics, he sees 3 other men jumping with him and carrying cameras. A man catches him to help him, and at that moment, the glowing pebble enters his mind. This body belongs to an adrenaline junkier who loves extreme sports and has done lots of crazy challenges, earning him 4 Guinness World Records. Today he's doing a challenge that consists of diving without a parachute from 1,000 miles above ground to land on a safety net. The event is being transmitted on national TV, and if he pulls it off, his sponsor will give him $3 billion in cash. The memory of the sponsor shows a guy playing with a lighter. The idea of such money makes Yi-Jae want to complete the challenge, so he pushes the helper away and begins falling at great speed. The body lost the original soul but kept the abilities, so Yi-Jae is feeling confident and even excited. When he finally reaches his destination, he misses the net and lands on the ground, instantly dying. Yi-Jae appears in the dark room again, saying it's not fair to be considered a sinner because he didn't hurt anyone when he self-deleted. Death calls him selfish because he can't tell he did hurt people and shoots him to send him into the third life. Soon he wakes up in the body of a teenager at a school and notices a classmate laughing at the video of the death of the parachute guy. This tells Yi-Jae that all these lives belong to the same reality. He considers hitting him for it, but at that moment the glowing pebble reaches his mind. This teenager lost his father at the age of 5 and was raised by a single mother, who works hard to pay for his needs. The boy wanted to make her proud, but he hated coming to school because Jinsang and his friends kept harassing him with violence, robbery, or stupid pranks like throwing milk on him while recording him. However, he never told his mother this not to worry her. Eventually the boy felt like school became hell and his tormentors were demons, so he decided to self-delete. Yi-Jae realizes that to survive he only has to choose not to self-delete. At that moment Jinsang approaches him and reminds him to bring him milk before hitting him. Yi-Jae refuses to be a victim and chases after him to knock him down with a chair. One of Jingsan's friends tries to stop him, but Yi-Jae quickly subdues him before pushing Jingsan against the window, asking him to apologize. Suddenly someone knocks Yi-Jae down. It's Tae-sok, a very strong teen who immediately overpowers him and beats him down. Then he and his friend hold Yi-Jae down so that Jinsang can punch him too while the classmates watch in fear. At that moment the teacher arrives so everyone goes to their place, but after class, Jingsan and his gang catch Yi-Jae to beat him up again. Eventually even Tae-sok thinks it's too much and asks Jingsan to stop, but he doesn't care and keeps going. However, he finally stops when he sees the girl he likes watching them. Afterward Yi-Jae goes to the boy's home and is shaken to see the photos and notes of the guy's mother, making him remember his own. His mom would leave dinner for him and go to work, which tired her a lot, so sometimes Yi-Jae would join her to help her out in return. When the boy's mother comes home too, she notices her son has better manners, and Yi-Jae almost cries as he remembers his own mother again. The next day, Yi-Jae approaches Tae-sok in the bathroom to ask him why he lets Jinsang boss him around if he's stronger, so Tae-sok explains that the real boss of the school is a senior student whose gang Jinsang belongs to. If they mess with Jinsang, then the older kids will destroy them. Later during lunchtime, Jinsang hits Yi-Jae again, so Yi-Jae retaliates by throwing his bowl of noodles on Jinsang's head. While Yi-Jae goes away, Jinsang orders Tae-sok to go after him, but Tae-sok refuses because he wants to eat lunch. He tells Jinsang to wash and everyone laughs while a flashback reveals that Yi-Jae told Tae-sok not to interfere because he had a plan. A humiliated Jinsang goes to ask his seniors for help and the gang soon comes to the classroom ready to fight. However, when the leader sees that Jinsang wants him to beat up a little wimp, the leader gets angry, calling Jinsang a coward for not being able to handle a small boy. He doesn't want his gang to be associated with cowards, so he grabs Jinsang and tells him to never approach them again. Proud of himself, Yi-Jae makes fun of Jinsang for his loss, and when Jinsang tries to hit him, Tae-sok hits him first. Now nobody in the school respects Jinsang anymore, and as he rushes out of the classroom, he discovers the girl he likes is with the senior leader. In the evening, Yi-Jae goes for a run and is almost hit by a truck, but luckily the driver stops just in time. Distracted by this, Yi-Jae doesn't hear Jinsang approaching him from behind to hit him with a brick to make him fall, then he proceeds to beat him up to death. Yi-Jae reappears in the dark room and yells at Death, causing her to throw him against the wall before stepping on his face and shooting him again. For his fourth life, Yi-Jae wakes up in the body of a hostage under interrogation. A group of dangerous men throw water on his face and ask him where he hid the girl and the money. When he doesn't answer, they threaten to stab his eye, so he announces he'll talk. However, the memories aren't back yet, so when he asks for a moment, the men threaten him with a hammer. Luckily, the glowing pebble finally shows up and Yi-Jae learns this body belongs to a criminal organization with clients all over the world. They work as fixers, meaning they'll solve a client's problem through any means necessary, which may include murder. One day he fell in love with his boss's girlfriend, and when she mentioned wanting to escape from this life full of crime and abuse, he offered to run away together. He stole 10 billion from his boss and hid them in a safe place, but on his way to meet with the lady, he was captured by his co-workers. Realizing that he has this guy's amazing abilities, Yi-Jae starts fighting everyone, using the chair as a weapon until it breaks. When he dodges an incoming knife, He causes a man to stab his partner, but after the initial shock he keeps on fighting. There are weapons and tools on the wall, so he turns off the main light and grabs a flashlight to fight with an advantage. A fierce battle in the darkness ensues and one by one, Yi-Jae kills every single agent. Afterward Yi-Jae thinks that with this guy's abilities he could survive anything, so he should retrieve the money and run away. He retrieves his phone and steals a bike to escape, discovering that all this has been happening in the back of a truck. As Yi-Jae speeds through the city, his boss learns his men failed and tracks Yi-Jae's location through his cell phone. That location is then sent to all the hunters in the area, promising a juicy reward if they catch Yi-Jae. Soon a chase begins through the city bridge and the agents open fire on Yi-Jae, who dodges everything and hides behind a truck. Once he manages to appear behind the agents' cars, he uses the bike to disarm a guy, then he starts driving like crazy. The other hunter misses his shots and hits cars instead, causing lots of crashes. The truck that captured him also shows up and tries to block the bridge, but the cars crash against it and cause an explosion that Yi-Jae simply jumps over. After leaving the bridge, a bunch of bikes and a police car start chasing him too. When he's about to reach a dangerous avenue, Yi-Jae speeds up and causes a bunch of vehicles to crash, blocking the way for the cop and a few bikes. There are still a few bikers following him and more enemy cars blocking the streets, so Yi-Jae enters a mall and speeds up until he's in the center surrounded by enemies. At that moment he notices an elevator, so he goes inside and closes the door right before another bike could hit him. When he reaches the roof, he makes a big jump and lands in a party pool, where his phone stops working. Now the enemy can't track him anymore. Then Yi-Jae goes to meet with the woman at the pier. She immediately hugs him and Yi-Jae senses how much the guy loved her. Yi-Jae tells her where the money is so they can head there, only to be suddenly shot by her, revealing this was her plan all along.